Pain doesn't always arrive screaming. Sometimes it slips into your life quietly, without warning, without drama. It doesn't break doors or shatter moments. It settles in, it watches, it waits, and before you realize what's happening, it begins to reshape you from the inside. This kind of pain doesn't look dangerous at first. You still wake up, you still function, you still smile when required, but something subtle shifts. You become heavier, more tired than rest can fix, more distant than explanation can justify. You start carrying pain the way people carry habits, automatically, silently. You don't talk about it because there's no single event to point to, no obvious wound, just a slow erosion of who you used to be. And that's what makes it so destructive, because pain that has no name is the hardest to confront. It doesn't feel urgent, it feels normal. You tell yourself everyone feels like this, that this is just adulthood, just stress, just life. But deep down, something feels off. You notice how you react differently now, how small inconveniences trigger disproportionate anger, how silence feels heavier than it should, how joy feels muted, like it's reaching you through a wall. Pain doesn't ruin you all at once. It teaches you to survive instead of live. It teaches you to brace instead of feel. And over time, that survival mode becomes your personality. You stop trusting ease. You stop believing calm can last. You stop letting yourself relax. Because somewhere inside, you learned that relaxation precedes loss. So you stay tense, alert, guarded. And the tragedy is this: most people don't realize they're hurting themselves in the name of coping. They call it strength, they call it resilience, but it's actually unresolved pain quietly taking control. When pain stays unprocessed, it doesn't disappear. It mutates, it changes form, it turns inward. This is where self-destruction begins, not with dramatic choices, but with small betrayals of the self. You stop listening to your body. You ignore exhaustion. You push through emotions instead of understanding them. You numb yourself with distractions, habits, noise, stimulation, anything to avoid sitting still long enough for the pain to speak. Because pain speaks in silence, and silence has become terrifying. So you stay busy, you scroll, you consume, you overwork, you overthink, you overgive, and slowly your relationship with yourself becomes transactional. You only allow yourself rest after productivity. You only allow yourself worth after achievement. You only allow yourself peace when everything is perfect, which it never is. This is how pain rewires you. It convinces you that your needs are weaknesses, that slowing down is dangerous, that feeling deeply will destroy you. So instead, you become harsh with yourself, critical, impatient. You push yourself harder than you would ever push someone you love. And that inner cruelty feels justified because pain taught you that gentleness leads to disappointment. Over time, this turns into patterns: self-sabotage disguised as discipline, isolation disguised as independence, emotional numbness disguised as maturity. You tell yourself you don't need anyone, that you're fine alone. But the truth is, you didn't choose solitude. You retreated into it because connection started to hurt too much. Pain ruins you by distorting your instincts. It makes you suspicious of good things. It makes you uncomfortable with kindness. It makes you mistake familiarity for safety, even when familiarity is harmful. And the worst part, you start identifying with the pain. You stop seeing it as something you're experiencing and start seeing it as who you are. I'm just like this. I've always been this way. But that's not truth. That's adaptation. And adaptations made in pain often become cages when the danger is gone. One of the most devastating effects of unresolved pain is how it shapes your relationships. Pain doesn't just isolate you physically, it isolates you emotionally. You become present but unavailable. You listen but don't open. You show up but don't let yourself be seen, because pain taught you that visibility invites harm. So you hide behind competence, humor, intelligence, strength. You become the reliable one, the calm one, the one who has it together. And people believe you. They stop asking how you are, they assume you're fine. and you reinforce that assumption because admitting otherwise feels like failure. Pain also changes how you love. You become cautious. You test people instead of trusting them. You pull away at the first sign of discomfort, or you stay too long in situations that hurt because pain taught you that suffering is normal. You confuse intensity with depth. You confuse attachment with connection, and slowly your identity starts to revolve around endurance. You pride yourself on how much you can handle, how much you can survive. But survival is not the same as fulfillment. Pain ruins you when it convinces you that who you are now is all you'll ever be, that healing is unrealistic, that softness is naive, that hope is dangerous. So you lower your expectations, not just of others, but of life itself. You stop dreaming expansively. You stop imagining a future that feels light. You prepare for disappointment instead of possibility. And this preparation becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because when you expect less, you settle for less. And when you settle for less long enough, you forget you ever wanted more. This is the silent collapse, not a breakdown, but a slow shrinking, a quiet resignation. You're not destroyed in one moment, you're diminished over time, and the world applauds you for how well you function while falling apart internally. But here's the part no one tells you. Pain only ruins you if you never turn toward it, if you keep running, if you keep numbing, if you keep pretending it isn't there. Healing doesn't begin with positivity. It begins with honesty, with the willingness to sit still long enough to feel what you've been avoiding, to name what hurt you, to admit that some of your strength was actually fear in disguise. Healing is uncomfortable because it asks you to stop performing resilience and start practicing compassion toward yourself. It asks you to grieve the versions of you that were formed in pain, the hyper-vigilant one, the emotionally distant one, the endlessly self-critical one. These versions kept you alive, but they may no longer be serving you. Pain doesn't disappear when you acknowledge it, but it loses its power to control you. When you feel it fully, it stops leaking into everything else. You begin to notice how much of your life has been shaped by avoidance, and slowly, carefully, you start making different choices. You rest without earning it. You speak before resentment builds. You set boundaries without guilt. You allow yourself to want more without immediately questioning whether you deserve it. Healing doesn't make you immune to pain. It makes you less afraid of it, and that changes everything. Because when pain is no longer something you must escape, it becomes something you can understand, integrate, learn from. Pain doesn't have to ruin you. It can refine you, but only if you stop letting it operate in the shadows. Only if you stop calling self-destruction coping. Only if you choose awareness over avoidance. This isn't a fast process. It's not aesthetic, it's not linear, but it's real. And real healing doesn't make you harder. It makes you more grounded, more present, more honest. Pain ruins you when it goes unexamined, but when you face it, truly face it, it becomes the thing that no longer owns you. And that is where rebuilding begins.